Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Cindy Miller joins us live once again here on the Zoomcast and the podcast to talk more about her work as a certified hypnotherapist, certified handwriting analyst, analyst, I should say as well, and so much more. Welcome back. How are you today?
I'm great, Jill. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. And how do we reach you?
You reach me at Cindy Miller, freedomhypnosis.com, or my phone number is 620-778-9421.
Beautiful. Well, please tell us a little bit about yourself to start, and then what is our area of focus for today?
Well, it seems like a lot of people are interested in the handwriting analysis, so I figured we'd I'd give some information about that. Again, my name is Cindy Miller. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and handwriting analyst, and I'm a grandmother, and I also work as a lifeguard and aquatics instructor. I just do a whole bunch of things.
Well, we are happy to have you here. So, what exactly is a handwriting analyst? Explain the details of that. That's fascinating, the work that you do.
Okay. Yeah, it is very fascinating. There is a difference between, I'm certified as a handwriting analyst, but there is, you can also be a graphologist, but you got to go to college for 4 years for that. And it gets into a lot more detail than what I know. But our handwriting is a very important part of who we are. It's how we think, it's how we behave, it's how we feel. And also, sorry, but I've got company that has a couple dogs, so hopefully they
Happens.
don't
Don't
make too
worry.
much
You
noise.
got it.
But anyhow, it's how we think on a subconscious level, and it's just as valid as any other form of communication. So, but we can tell a great deal about a person or a client on that subconscious level.
And the work to become, how did you get certified for this? I know we talked about it in an old show, but it's always good to find out. How do you become a handwriting expert, shall I say? Tell me the process of that, and how did you get into it to begin with?
Well, like I said, I went to school for hypnotherapy, and it
Oh,
was part of one of our classes to be certified. Like I said, if you want to get even more detailed, you got to go to school for 4 years. But it's just one of the modalities. It's good for, well, it's so accurate that lawyers use it, mental health professionals use it, law enforcement uses it. Let's see, human resource personnel can use it because it really tells a lot about the person. Like I said, on a subconscious level, you can really tell emotions and that sort of thing. But it was just one of the modalities when I was going to school for hypnotherapy, and I just found it extremely interesting. So I went on and took an advanced course in it as well, and it's just really interesting.
yay. And the
Yeah,
type of handwriting, tell me how it works, because you can analyze what sorts of things can we find out from handwriting.
sure. I got a lot of things you can find out from
Ooh,
handwriting.
ooh,
Dogs barking.
it's okay.
Anyhow, sorry. So anyhow, you look at everything in the handwriting. You look at the letters, you look at the slants of the letters, you look at the margins. For instance, the margins can tell if a person has how much generosity they have with their time and space that they give to others or they give to themselves. Are they giving person, or are they, well, on the other spectrum hand, it could be selfish, but it could also be, there's nothing wrong with giving to yourself first. Things like the baseline slant, the slant of the sentences themselves. Those can tell the mood at the time that the person was writing. You may slant your lines one way one time and slant them differently if you're happy or sad or whatever your mood is at the time. And the slants of the letters themselves, Um, they tell a lot about how a person expresses their emotions, and the pressure that they use on their paper can tell the depth and duration of the emotions that they feel. So there's a lot of things you can tell. And, practicing your handwriting is a good cognitive exercise. This is why therapists often use it in their practice encourage people to do journaling because it's very therapeutic. And, in hypnotherapy, we suggest that you do it right before bed because, like I had said in previous, episodes, that right before bed we get into those brain waves, those self-hypnotic brain waves. And so to do your handwriting right before you go into that hypnosis is very therapeutic, particularly because you're going to go into the dream state, which your dream states also consist of, while you're dreaming, you're sorting your day's information, you're planning ahead, and then you're letting go of stuff. So if you can journal and have all your focus on this journaling right before bed, it's amazing what it can do.
Beautiful. And if someone wants to reach out to you, share again the website and any phone number.
Sure, my website is cindymillerfreedomhypnosis.com, and my phone number is 620-778-9421.
Awesome. And what else did you have on the agenda for today? By the way, I didn't get any specific notes, so I apologize. I don't know if you sent anything specific, but I know we're talking handwriting today. So what else did
Right,
you have
right. I
on your
have not.
list?
Well, excuse me. Handwriting, I don't know if many people know this, but if people handwrite their envelopes when they're writing letters, which we don't really do much anymore, the envelopes are like 11 times more likely to be opened. And also actually sitting down and writing the letter as opposed to typing it also shows a more personal, connective type of attitude of the writer. But there's also other ways to read handwriting. You can read doodles and drawings. You can look at the type of material somebody has used to do their writings with, and even the color. You can the color of the writing. This is particularly good when working with children. You can have them sit down and draw pictures or doodle, see what colors they're choosing for different things, and it's very helpful in a therapeutic sense to kind of see where that child's mind and emotions are, because as children we don't always know how to express our emotions. We don't even know what our emotions
Hmm.
are. We know if we're happy or sad, but that's usually about it. So it's really interesting to see kids and see what they choose for their colors and their drawings and stuff like that.
I had my parent teacher conference this morning for my 6-year-old, and she said he has
Uh-huh.
amazing penmanship. It's so wonderful. And I was looking at it. I'm like, you know what? Compared to my other son, yeah, like it's very neat. What does that say about someone who's very neat in their writing?
Well,
Then my other son is sloppy, but just like, I mean, it all depends, I guess, right? You go by letters, or what are you looking for specifically in a child's writing?
in a child's writing, we really don't analyze handwriting in children under 12 because they're just learning.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all learning the same way. Remember when you were in school and learning cursive, we all learned it a standard way. But as you get a little bit older, you start developing your own little style. And usually when you develop the style, I mean, may have, I remember when I was in like middle school, instead of dots for eyes, we put little circles. Of
Yes.
course, I don't do that anymore, but you can definitely tell from middle school to even now, my handwriting is pretty much the same. I developed, my own little personality in my handwriting, and it pretty much sticks with you for most of your life. And it's funny because I can't remember if I was reading something or listening to something, but anyhow, they were saying that your handwriting, as you first start writing something, you're more in that cognitive brain thinking about
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to write, how you're going to write it, trying to make sure it's nice and neat and all that kind of stuff. But as you really get to going, you kind of lose all those thoughts and you really get into what you're wanting to say. And that's where the emotion, that's where you can really get a lot of reading out of. You get down to that subconscious and that emotional level, and that's where we pull things out of. The most part is not that first part of the word or
Okay.
the handwriting, but more the middle and the end. But and you can also see it show a lot from the person's signature. But yeah, back to the kids, we really don't do a lot on little kids. That's why the drawings and the colors and stuff like that are really important for the kids. But yeah, that we all learn the same way. So until we can develop our own style of writing.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. Well, I'm thinking about it now. You're right. My handwriting probably has not changed much over the years.
right.
But one thing I do that I find is different than a lot of people, maybe it's not so different. I don't connect my letters. I do half script, half print. Is that normal or does that say something about me?
Well, I think we all do a little bit of that anymore,
Okay.
half skip, half print, but not connecting. So when you're writing in cursive, you're not connecting your letters?
Yeah, the way I kind of write print and cursive in one, like I'll do like a script J space, a script I space, a script L space, script. I don't connect anything. Or sometimes,
Oh,
yeah. Does that say something about someone? I mean,
it probably does. It probably does. I'm not sure. Even if I'm not sure exactly what that means. I can kind of guess, which I probably won't, we won't want to
Mhm.
talk about over the podcast.
Oh, I don't mind. I'm an open book. I'm a mess mentally. What's wrong? I'm stressed out. Yes, I know this. It means I'm not.
Well,
Yeah. Could you just share what
it
someone like that?
I would assume that maybe there's separation in yourself. Do you do that with your last name as well?
Yes.
You do that with your last name. Is your last name a maiden name or a married name?
I've never been married, so I never
Okay.
connected with anyone,
Okay.
and that's why I'm not connecting my dots. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a loss of connection, I would assume, within yourself. I would have to do some further
I'll send
looking
you a
into that
copy.
one.
Well, give
I'll
us,
do some. I'll let you know next time.
thank you. Well, tell us some of the client stories. Tell us some of the analysis that you are doing.
Well, some of them, especially when I was practicing, I knew a lot of people, and they were like, "Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, you can do mine." So they would give me their stuff, but I knew a lot about them and their personal lives and stuff. So, and when I give them their analysis back to them, I printed everything off in all these different categories and stuff, and they're like, "Wow, I can't imagine. And this is correct. This is spot on. This is spot on." But I really wanted to do people that I didn't know. So I did find some people that I didn't know, and I did theirs, and it was the same with them. They're like, "Oh, that's spot on." But I did have one friend, because of the way she had written a certain sentence. She started this sentence, and it led me to believe that she was had this strong feelings toward a daughter of hers, and the fact that the daughter isn't here in town with the rest of her children. It's an adult daughter. And she later told me, she goes, "That is so true, that one daughter is her first, so she's kind of grew up with her, a little extra special. And since she wasn't living around here, she just really had this overwhelming need or want to have this child here, and that really showed in her handwriting. You can
Yeah.
tell that you can tell when somebody's upset, showing aggression. And capital letters show an ego. They're projecting. It's how they wish to appear to other people. But the lowercase letters are how people actually are, how they actually are in their daily life. That's kind of the significance of that. And then they go into more detail about what some of the letters individually, kind of are communicating.
Ooh.
So it's like, for instance, if you do your capital T and that line goes clear across your word, you're self-protecting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that do that.
What do you do?
But
Did
yeah.
did you discover yourself from doing this too?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I can look at my writing, and I did, before I ever took the class, I sat out and did myself a whole page. I have no idea what it's, going to tell me at the time, but I thought, when I get to this class, I want to be able to read myself and see what it says. And when I did it, I was like, "Oh, that is so right. That's so spot on. This is me." I mean, I had to agree with it. I couldn't disagree with it because it was true. But
Ah,
anyhow, we can get to, don't want to really go into detail on a lot of letters. But one letter that I think everybody might find fascinating is the lowercase d. The lowercase d.
Okay.
The lowercase d is the sexual self-image of a person and how they write it. Now, some people write it with straight up and down, that the stem is straight up and down. Some people are looping it. Some people, the round part, some people it connects to that loop or stem. Sometimes it doesn't connect to that loop or stem. And if it does connect and you have a loop for your stem, it shows that you're hypersensitive to sexual criticism. And if you have a D where you have a regular stem, a regular straight stem without the loop in it, but it's not connecting, that round part isn't connecting to the stem, it shows a separation of mind and body. And the writer thinks that he or she would function sexually differently or function
Ooh,
sexually different than what they actually do.
wow.
Could be better, could be worse. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know. That's up to the
Interesting.
person. And if they have a loop and it doesn't connect, then they're hypersensitive to criticism or compliments with a separation of mind and body. However, if anybody does this and you want to get to a normal, healthy, confident self image, start changing the way you make your D's. Make sure you don't have a loop. Your stem is nice and straight, and make sure that connects. That round part connects. And if you start doing this and paying attention and focusing, you might notice that these things start happening for you. You start having more of a normal, healthy self image sexually. Sound interesting?
It is. I don't have a pen on me, but I'm like, during my head, I'm trying to go, D. How I do it? Do I connect it?
How do I do
I might even start the round
it?
circle first now that I think about it. And
Right.
sometimes
Well,
I
I
do
think we
that, or
do.
sometimes
Yeah, I think we do.
sometimes I go around and up and down. Sometimes I go down and to the left, but I do connect. I do connect.
You do
Yes.
connect. Do you have a straight line or do you have a loop in
S-
yours?
Straight line.
That's a normal, healthy self-image, sexual self-image. So
Okay.
you're good. You're good, girl.
What else? What other tips and tricks you
Yeah.
have?
Well, I think I said once before, a long time ago, your letter T's, the lowercase T's show um, the stem, and the crossing of the T, where you're crossing it at, also shows your self-image. I think the stem is a self-image, and the confidence is the crossing of the T. Now, when we look at handwriting, you have to realize that there's an upper zone, a middle zone, and a lower zone. Okay, the middle zone is where most of your lowercase letters are going to be, like your lowercase n's, m's, all that kind of stuff. That's the middle zone. The upper zone is where those stems reach up into, or the capitals are up in there. And then the lower zone is below that middle zone, like where your Y's and G's would come down. Okay, so in the letter T, the small letter T, if you're crossing your letter T in that middle zone, that shows a lower self-confidence. It needs to be crossed a little bit higher where it's not in that middle zone. So you can, same way with the letter D, you can improve your self-confidence, or your self-confidence if you start crossing your T's a little bit higher, because you have to pay attention. You have to focus on that. And then the self-esteem part is the stem. Is the stem going all the way up, or do you have a short stem? If your stem is a short stem, then you have a lower what I say, self-confidence, self-esteem. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyhow, yeah, you can, if you know these things ahead of time, you can change your handwriting. It can change your belief system about yourself.
Mm. T.
For the simple reason you have to put so much focus into it. Every time you sit down to write something, am I crossing my T's high enough? Am I doing this? Am I making my D's, the right way? You know, so you have to really focus on those.
All
But
right.
the spacing the spacing of the letters too. It's the width or narrowness of a person's thought process. So I'm assuming since you have a lot of spacing between your letters, that you just have a really wide thought process. You're not narrow minded at all. That's what I would think from that.
Got it. What about someone who's depressed, anxious? And what stands out? What could
Depressed
stand
and
out?
anxious. Well, actually, in all of these, if you usually have to have more than one, and there is for every little trait, there's more than one um, thing you could look at in a person's handwriting. If you just see one little thing somewhere on that whole page, then it's probably not going to be accurate for that person. But if you see it throughout, so some of the things for like I said, your self-esteem levels, your lowercase t's, that has a lot to do with it right there. Um, your ovals and your connecting strokes, and if you write angular, very up and down, instead of nice and fluid and curvy, if you're very up and down, that can show a lot about a person. Um, what stands out to me is a person, usually a person with very angular handwriting, can show that they'd make a good CEO of a company. They want to get things done, and they don't care how it gets done. They just get things. They have people under them. They get things done. They don't have to worry about that stuff. So, but there's other indicators too. Could the person also be aggressive with that? They can also be aggressive as well. So it could be a bad aggressive or a good aggressive. It kind of depends on the situation. But you really have to look at several different things when it comes to anything, including depression. But it's neat. It can tell whether people's overthinking things, if they have even physical disorders. We were learning that um, sometimes, I mean, you wouldn't want to tell a person, "Oh, I think you need to go to the doctor and have something checked out," but unless your pen is malfunctioning, sometimes there's spaces in certain letters, and you might notice that that person has a problem on whatever, say there's little bitty tiny spaces on the right side at the top. Well, that might indicate that there's something going on with the upper body on the right side, you know, that sort of thing.
All
But
right.
again, it has to be throughout. It's just not once or twice.
Mm, interesting. Well, we have just 2 minutes left in the show, and to close out, let's find out more about, first of all, your website one more time. Mention it. We should have mentioned it again. I'm sorry.
That's what it's Cindy Miller,
Mm.
freedomhypnosis.com. And my phone number is 620-778-9421.
So yeah, just not just the handwriting analysis she does, but she can also do hypnosis, which, as we talked about before, can help a plethora, so many things.
Sure, sure. And I did find my list.
Okay, good.
but but yeah. But handwriting too, it really helps if we can have a client do handwriting beforehand. It'll tell us so much about the client before they ever come in to see us. So that's why they kind of threw that in with the hypnosis. Yep. It's fun to do, but it's very interesting.
Well, we appreciate your time here. How did you want to leave off for today?
Well, just if anybody's interested, just give me a call. I do have free consultations. We can do a little talking, and if we think we're a good fit to work together, that's great. We can set up an appointment. And I do work on a sliding scale for anybody that's interested. So just give me a call. And thank you, Jill. I just want to say thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it and looking forward to the next time we get to connect.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you again, Miss Cindy Miller. We appreciate you. And if someone's interested in
Thank
your
you.
work, you offer initial conversation.
Consultation, yes. That's
Perfect.
free.
So
Yeah.
perfect. 15 minutes, 30-minute consult. How does it work?
It's usually 15, 20 minutes.
Can't hurt, guys. Give her a call, set it up, go to the website. Thank
Yep.
you again, Cindy. Have a great day, okay? And
You
to all of
too.
our
You have-
listeners and viewers, stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.